All right, guys, there is some groundbreaking news in the snowmobile industry, and we're going to jump right into that. And after that, we're going to answer your questions that you have submitted on Instagram. Let's jump right in.
Look, I don't want to talk. How you try and press the kid and read it, you was soft.
All right, guys, welcome back to yet another episode of the Let's Assess podcast. Wow, that sounded good. It's me and AJ in the studio today. We're going to talk about some more breaking news coming from Arcticat. And we just want to dive into a couple things that are going on. And then, like we said in the intro, we are going to be jumping in to more questions that you guys have. Obviously, these don't just apply to the person that asked. They kind of apply to a lot of people because a lot of people have the same question. So stick around for that.
Yeah. And if you guys are liking the content, once again, like us on Instagram, follow us on there, everything. Just all the support. It's incredible. And the subscribe on YouTube, that helps us the most. So
yeah,
or 5 stars or whatever on Spotify, Apple Music, all that stuff.
Yeah. And to say that we are on Spotify, we're on Apple Music, we're getting religious about that. So if you're driving, YouTube's not your thing, go check out the podcast there. And like AJ said, if you interact with us, it means a lot. It helps the channel. And let's jump right into it.
Yeah. So this week we're down Marcus. He had to go back for Christmas. Tomorrow's Christmas Eve. We're shooting this just before Christmas Eve. So
yep,
he headed back, spent some time with his family for a couple days. I don't know if he'll be back on the next podcast or the following one, but then he'll be back out here for the whole winter then. So we'll see him on the rest of them. But for now, it'll just be me and Brent. You get to listen to us again.
Yeah. Yep. Back to the two originals.
Yeah. Dude, how crazy was the last podcast?
Yeah, thank you guys. If you haven't seen last podcast, go check it out because I feel like it just by the stars aligning randomly lined up with what Arcticat did. And we kind of talked about the snowmobile industry as a whole. If you guys listened to it, if you interacted with it, we really appreciate it. We're trying to get to all the comments, but there's a lot on that podcast and a lot of long comments.
A lot of long comments.
So.
And we shoot these like a week, 2 weeks before we post them, like at minimum a week before we post them. So it's crazy that just the way things aligned for that podcast.
Except this one.
This one we're shooting pretty quick because we kind of slacked off. Well, we got the video out, so that was kind of the big thing.
Yeah, if you guys haven't seen the video, go check it out. One of the questions relates to the video.
Yep.
And we got some good feedback on that, so we appreciate all the support.
Yeah, no, thank you all. It's awesome. We really do appreciate it. But back to the podcast, like normally that would be one of our podcasts that like we get done shooting it and we're like, yeah, it's a good podcast, but yeah, it's definitely a podcast. There's really nothing there that's gonna like catch people or like nothing. Like it was an hour long, like nothing about that podcast was like, that's gonna be our best podcast yet, So it's crazy how the stars aligned and that went so perfectly. But it's crazy. It really blew up and it's still going. So
yeah, we appreciate it.
Yeah. But
so
let's hop into it.
Yeah.
So pretty much we put the podcast out and then Arcticat released the next day that they're seeking alternative options right now. And they filed like a K8, I think it is that they called it. So
is that bankruptcy? Or what?
I don't think it's bankruptcy, but it's just like they're seeking alternate like business options. I don't know what
away from Textron.
Yeah, Textron
said
is seeking it. So they're looking. Okay, they filed a 8K with the Securities of Exchange Commission, so the SEC. The 8K submission is required by publicly traded companies to announce significant or material events that shareholders need to know. So Form 8K is intended to disclose timely information allowing shareholders to react. I don't know what that exactly means, but
it's for stockholders, basically. Yeah.
But they're pursuing strategic alternatives for its power sports products line within the industrial segments. Textron Specialized Vehicles, TSV business, the consumer and market demands for power sports and products continues to remain soft. As a result, and in conjunction with its annual operation plan and process, TSV has begun to pause production of its power sports products. As Textron's management reviews strategic alternatives for the business upon completion of limited production runs to satisfy customers' commitments. Production of TSV's power sports and products will be paused indefinitely in the first half of 2025.
Yeah, so basically what we talked about in the last podcast, the snowmobiles industry and power sport industry is going through some troubles. And if you want to hear the reasons why we think that is, go watch that podcast. We don't need to get into that here. But the snowmobile industry, you know, you're coming off a year with no snow. Inflation's ridiculous. Interest rates are ridiculous. Everything's ridiculous. So clearly to me, that states that they're having a hard time. Yeah. And what I want to say before we get any further is, like, it really is unfortunate.
Oh,
I'm not an Arctic Cat buyer. I mean, I've rode Cat for a while. I didn't buy it though.
Yeah.
But it is unfortunate, and it doesn't, there's a whole step of reasons we spoke on that, but basically it creates less competition when a company is not pushing it. And then no matter what brand you ride, your manufacturer of choice is not pushing it as hard. And in the recent years, I don't think Arctic Cat's been on.
They haven't been pushing it, but releasing the Catalyst and the 858 and all that, it has added a huge market for aftermarket companies. Yeah. So like last winter, that was the only like real exciting thing that came out. So like the Catalyst 600 was like the biggest aftermarket selling products that there was, because everything else was pretty much the same. Yeah. So
you're talking innovation wise.
So, and I think the Catalyst chassis itself pushes, you know, Polaris and Ski-Doo both to continue developing. But if we lose that, you know, it's just that we're going to hit that stagnant, stale situation out of those two other companies.
Yeah. So basically this note that Textron released, which Textron is the owner of Arctic Cat.
Yep.
What they're saying is they're basically ready to seek different alternatives, which to me and most people means sell it.
It's for sale.
And so that's different than on the last podcast we shot, because this has come out in between. Last podcast we shot, there was problems.
Yeah.
Right? They're shutting down manufacturing.
They were just shutting down they'd only shut down the manufacturing plant, I believe, in Thief River Falls. Now they've shut down both it and St. Cloud. And I don't know if that was before, but it is my understanding when we shot the last podcast, it was just Thief River Falls, Minnesota. But now they've shut down St. Cloud as well. And I think they do more side by side and different like other products in there as well. So like they've ceased all production of the Textron off-road line completely, is what it sounds like.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah. Which I've heard they have plenty of like ATVs, UTVs, snowmobiles out that they could like deliver for the next year with those, is what it sounds like.
Yeah. We were watching a news clip from a local Minnesota news channel, and they were interviewing a dealer, and they said that their sales from last year to the year before went down 50%.
Yeah, that's
huge. So the dealers are struggling, and I'm sure if you're a lot of Polaris dealers, a lot of Ski-Doo dealers, I think they're struggling.
Industry-wide struggling, yeah.
And then, but Cat especially,
really struggling.
I think they're really struggling. So I hate to hear that. I mean, again, I'm not a big Cat guy. I'm not opposed to it, but that's just unfortunate, because it trickles down to the athletes, trickles down to the normal riders, and it just affects the whole industry. Yeah. And not only that, it, you know, personally affects these people that had jobs at Cat, or had dealerships, or, you know, I mean, it's a big effect when a company that big is going through trouble. So it's really unfortunate.
Yeah. And so I did some more research. It sounds like, you know, there's still support for the dealers. There's still, and I know there's a lot of comments on the last podcast was that, you know, we don't know what we're talking about because they still have dealer support. Yes, they still have dealer support. Yes, there's still representatives that they can call and get questions and answers from, and so on and so forth. But when there's 65 people gone, like not fired, but laid off, but don't have a return date or anything like that, that's a huge like knowledge base. Like if they have major problems engineering, breaking stuff, or, you know, maybe they can't just fire up and make A-arms. So like there will be issues in that at some point. This issue will come back and bite them, right? This cease of production will come back to bite them.
Bite the consumer.
Bite the consumer, yeah. Not them. It'll bite the consumer. It'll bite them too. But nonetheless, yes, there's still people there. If you bought an 858 or you have another Arctic Cat product, there's still dealers out there. They still have parts. They still have access to questions. They can still get answers, warranty, so on and so forth. Like none of that has halted. They still are a great company. I think there's a lot of good people at Arctic Cat that you know, want the best for their customers. So I want to just clear that up, that I do think that Arctic Cat truly is there for their customers still, but there will be an issue at some point in this
if
whole
something
debacle.
doesn't change.
Exactly. Like they got to get back on their feet. So
Yeah. Oh, it sucks. But you know what this actually made me think of today when I was thinking about this, when we're going to shoot this? So I don't know if you've heard this, but apparently, and I don't know if this is rumor or if this is true. I kind of think this is true, that Honda was talking about getting into snowmobiles.
yeah. Yep.
Okay, so they're another mega company that would have the money and access to engineers and resources to really push the industry in some way.
Yep.
And the scary thing to me is if you're Honda, or there was another company, some guy said Kawasaki was going to get into it. I didn't hear any real rumors from that, but I did with Honda.
Yeah, I've heard Honda, and then remember when we were at Heydays, the big talk was John Deere.
Well, they were talking about buying Arctic Cat.
Yeah, John Deere was talking about buying Arctic Cat.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
oh, you're just talking Honda getting into snowmobiles, period.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I'm not talking about them buying them. I'm talking about them doing it in house, which maybe they buy them. I don't know.
Yeah.
But what it makes me think is, if they're seeing a tried and true snowmobile brand like Arctic Cat, they've been around a long time.
Yeah.
And they're a big name in the industry. If they're looking at them and their strategic, executives are saying Arctic Cat can't make it,
Is this
Polaris is
something
saying they're
we
going
get
to
into?
slow down production. Ski-Doo's talking,
They're all
what
pulling
they're
back.
doing. It's almost like, is it going to really screw the innovation side of this industry up more than it just does when you just kind of think about it? Like, if you really think, maybe Honda comes in and makes an insane snowmobile.
Yep.
And Honda's number one for a while.
Yeah.
They have the resources to do it.
They could do it.
I mean, Honda is massive.
Yep.
And it's not just their dirt bikes. I mean, dude, they build planes,
they build vehicles,
they
they build all sorts of stuff. Yeah.
So it kind of, that's what kind of scares me in the fact of not only Arctic Cat being gone, but it'd be nice for the innovation of this industry if Honda came in, Kawasaki came in, all these, companies came in and they started making sleds and pushing the industry further. Not that Ski-Doo and Polaris are doing a bad job of it. I mean, they're doing a great job for all. We went on a kind of an old iron ride that'll be released later, but wow, have they came a long way.
They've came a long ways. They've done well.
They've
done well.
Used to be, these old people used to say, man, back in my day and all this stuff. I'm like, you just say that, but no, dude, that's
real.
legit.
Yeah.
Those sleds were not even near what sleds are today.
Oh, it was brutal. It was brutal.
We figured that out, and more to be announced on that, but I just thought I'd say that. But yeah.
Okay, so I want to kind of talk on your Honda thing, and it's crazy that like Honda, Kawasaki are coming up, and I kind of want to
I don't know if I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah,
I have no idea if this is true.
Yeah, I think it's 100% rumor, and I think this is what proves that it's almost rumor. Maybe I'm crazy, but maybe you've seen where KTM is in financial trouble right now as well.
Yeah.
They have pulled back a lot of lines. They're actually not they've almost scaled back their entire bicycle lineup. Like,
dude, and they are mega in the moto industry.
Yeah, they're
and the
huge.
moto industry is way bigger than the
Yep.
snowmobile industry.
But then they're still doing like weird moves, which I know, like, they're in financial trouble. They have started scaling back products and different items that they've been into different spaces than just dirt bikes. I think they were trying to become a Honda or a Yamaha, something like that, like to diversify what they were, producing. And they started scaling that back because they don't have the money for it. So like they've been cutting back the race teams, all sorts of different stuff. But yet they still like put down a huge sponsorship for MXGP. Like they're the title sponsor or something for it. So it was like a mega like amount of money that they paid for that. So it's just kind of weird the way these companies see things. Like, who knows where they're actually making their money? Like, obviously advertising there, they must be getting enough kickback to supplement that to where they or think it's worthwhile to, sponsor that event or that whole series. But it's interesting that KTM is, struggling, but then people are still like, oh, Honda might be interested, like, I don't know. Just, it seems like since COVID, the power sports in general, like the entire power sports community.
And it boomed in COVID.
hurting. Oh, it was insane.
Yeah.
Snowmobiles, dirt bikes, four-wheelers,
But dude, I think a
UTVs,
lot
gear.
of it is the economy. I mean,
Well,
okay,
we were
leave
talking-
a comment. Leave a comment in the comments if you think that with Trump being president in America, these industries will get better, or do you think that the talk of tariffs and everything else is going to make it worse? I want to hear people's opinions.
yeah, let it know.
Yeah, like put it in the comments, and you guys can fight about that in the comments. It'll be entertaining for us.
Yeah.
But
no, it'll be interesting to see what changes, if things change. But like something's got to turn around at this point, or it'll get worse. You know,
dude, I was reading a thing, and I forgot to say this in the last pod, but when they talked, so Articat defunded their race team, right? That was like the first. I think that was like the first thing that came out.
Yep.
And I saw this guy on a forum that made, to me, a really good point. I could be wrong. I think in the moto industry, this is still true, more true than the snowmobile. But he was talking about how snowcross is dying.
Yeah, no, it is for sure.
And he was talking about, it used to be you win on Sunday, buy on Monday.
Yep.
So whatever manufacturer won Sunday, people be buying their bikes or sleds or whatever it is Monday, right?
Yep.
They want to be on what
That was a
the winner
NASCAR
was.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that's it. With like, you take a guy like Hayden Deegan in motocross, I guarantee you Yamaha has sold a lot of bikes because of Hayden Deegan.
Absolutely.
Or KTM with back in the Ryan Dungey days and stuff like that.
Yep.
I'm sure they have. But in snowmobiling now, especially mountain riding out west, I'm an absolute snowmobile lover. I don't know anything about snowcross. The only thing I know is Tucker Hibbert was really good. Blair Morgan was really good. Yeah. But do you see what I'm saying? Like, it's not like, Supercross where it's like in
Very
big
relevant.
arenas, and like if you're in the power sport industry, you hear about who's winning, and they have huge social media followings. And in the West, it's not, I guess I'm speaking for a lot of people here, but I don't think it's like that. I think it's more whoever's the best on Instagram tends to sell sleds.
I think that's what it is now in the West. So snowcross used to be huge in the West as well. It has since petered out and died. I don't even think there's a circuit out here now. There might be some like kids stuff going on. I should know if anybody, but like it's really died in the West. There's not a big event. There's not big stuff going on in the West. As far as like the national snowcross, they come to Deadwood, South Dakota. That's where they like draw the line. They never even hit the real mountains.
Yeah.
So snowcross has died in the West. So Instagram is really the only place that the riders of the West have any sort of connection to the industry, really. And that's what's kind of wild is we've seen that transition of like snowcross dying. The sport was almost like at a standstill, dead in the mountains. Now we have social media, and now we have the athletes, performing and advertising and sponsorships coming from manufacturers.
Red
gear
Bull
brands.
getting into backcountry riding.
Exactly. Like there's such a push into that now that it's like, that's the new fad, right? That's the new thing.
But like to me, okay, if I was going to buy a dirt bike and I was watching Supercross and say Yamaha was winning all the time, I'd be like,
it's probably a good bike.
Probably a good bike. But in reality, I mean, they're not even similar to what you'd buy off a dealership floor.
Yep.
Really, I mean,
Not even
completely
close.
different.
Yeah.
But in my head, I'd be like, well, that must be a good bike. And then when I go out on the dirt, whether like when I used to ride the track and everything, that bike would work on whatever I'm doing dirt wise, right?
Yeah,
like because whoops in the desert have some similarity to whoops on a dirt bike track in a way, right? Like the suspension and all that
in
stuff.
a vacuum, yeah.
Yeah. But with snowmobiling, why as a mountain rider would I care about what sled is getting around a racetrack fast enough? Because I'm in completely different, and I'm not saying that's not true with dirt bikes. It is. Like you can be in completely different terrain than a racetrack. I get that.
Yeah.
But there's more of a correlation.
No,
like
for
with
sure.
snowmobiling, it's literally the polar opposite. Like you take the best race sled in the world, and you couldn't even get up a hill after a fresh storm.
Correct. Yeah. No, I think the race sleds, that's more of a Midwest thing. And I think that's why there's probably still snowcross there, and it still sells. What wins on Sunday will sell on Monday in the Midwest, because it's still that race sled mentality, ripping on the trails, banging the ditches, whatever.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Where out here, that's where we're finding that difference. Like we have the hill climbs, but it's so inconsistent with the hill climbs, and the snowmobile industry is so small, and then the mountain industry is even smaller. It's like, I'll bet you go ask any mountain riders, like, who won Jackson last year? I might even ask you, do you know who won Jackson last year? Like King of King?
Turkey Reinhardt?
Sure wasn't.
Keith Curtis?
Nope.
I don't know.
It was Keith Curtis's buddy. I can't remember his name
Oh,
either.
yeah, you don't know.
But I think Justin Thomas, maybe.
Oh.
Maybe.
Or Andy Thomas?
Nope, it wasn't. I'm gonna look it up right now because I'm pretty sure it was Justin Thomas. But
Well, that shows how much we're into it.
but that's my point.
But like my influence, like especially growing up, now I kind of have my opinions in the sport, like because
Okay, I
I've
was
rode.
right. It is Justin Thomas. So I do know something.
Okay, good. But like my growing up, when I didn't have an opinion on things because I had never rode, any of the new mountain sleds or whatever.
Yep.
It was up to like, I hate to say it, Chris Barant to tell me what was good.
Absolutely.
Because he was the king of the backcountry industry.
Yep.
Now I'm not as much that way. Still to a point. Like when everyone's running something, they're like, dude, this thing's killer.
Yeah.
Or like when Vogue says that something's killer, I like believe him and want to run it.
Yep.
But when I was little, dude, I never looked to the hill climb racers for like what I consider our sport, like the backcountry stuff.
Yep.
It was the backcountry people on social media.
It's the actual, but and I think that's where social media has taken over the entire industry in that aspect, is like they literally controlled what the consumers are after. Our podcast, what we post, like it literally controls what the consumers are interested in, what they're looking at, what they're searching, so on and so forth. So it's really changed. And I mean, you see it, racing is just kind of petering out a little bit. It's kind of going away, which sucks because it's such a cool thing. But I don't know. It's very interesting that in the mountain segment, there's really not anything that you would look to for sure and be like, that did good here. I'm going to go buy that.
Yeah.
Like
other than like backcountry social media.
Yeah. I literally think like Chris Brandt and Caleb Kosturki probably control that market right now, like over everybody.
Yeah. And a handful. I mean, there's
a handful of like that are contributing.
Yeah.
They're contributing. I would say we're even contributing on a very small level.
Yeah.
But if there's anybody that like they watch a video and they go, I need to ride a Polaris, it's going to be Chris Brandt or Caleb Kosturki, like that's, I don't see anybody else.
But that's what's cool too, is like whatever brand you're on, you're going to listen to certain dudes.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like that's what's cool. Like if you ride Articat, you're probably not going to listen to Chris Brandt. Like you're going to listen to him as a rider.
Yeah.
But not as like a product guy.
Yeah, you're not a product consumer.
Like it's a completely different sled.
You'll have a different audience that you're listening to. You'll be into a Mav Walker or, Kyle Husett, something along those lines, I think for sure. But once again, it's not guys putting out content like the other two. So I don't think that, it just doesn't maximize that level.
And the content they put out is like, I love it. Like
Oh,
Mav's
100%.
content is freaking sweet.
Yeah.
But it's not like buy this product. Caleb's isn't even really like that.
No.
Chris is really hard.
He
like
pushes
that.
product.
Like he's got to be
hard.
really valuable to these companies, especially in the Polaris world.
Yeah, well, he already shows it because he not only pushes it, but he sells it.
Yeah.
Like he
Helps
gets,
develop it.
Yeah, he gets the sale, which that seems to be the hardest thing. Like, that from sales is like actually getting the money is the hardest part.
Yeah.
Like that's incredibly difficult. And he has found a way to maximize that in the snowmobiles.
Yeah. Kudos to all the influencers out there that are pushing things.
Yeah.
I think I wish that some of these guys were treated like big racers because it's like for the backcountry industry, they're doing just as much. They're doing more than the racers, but the racers get all the money the money. I don't know how much it is, and the factory trailers, and
they set aside this much money to support that stuff.
Yeah.
Where backcountry, it's like, we'll set about this much,
we'll give you
it's just the way it is. Yeah.
Okay, do you want to dive into Q&A?
Let's do it.
Okay.
I think that's a great conversation on that stuff. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Let us know in the comments for sure.
Yes. Let's see.
And thank you guys for submitting these questions. We really enjoyed that last podcast. We're going to try to keep this up every podcast as long as for as long as we have the questions. So we'll do this weekly. We will ask the questions on the stories. Brent asked, I asked on the Powderbound account. We'll continue to do so. And we'll answer them here on the podcast.
Okay, so we put this out this morning. I kind of got it out late. There's 8 questions.
Not bad.
So, and then a couple people DM that didn't want me to answer it on the podcast.
Yeah.
Whatever. I won't.
Which, guys, we appreciate that, but
yeah,
it's super hard to answer back to comments on YouTube, comments on Instagram, messages, like emails, so on and so forth. Like, we do our best to answer it. Just know it might take a little bit longer, but for sure, like, if you definitely want your answer, like, or your question answered, this is going to be a great way for us to make sure we get your exact question answered.
Yeah, because we're sitting down and answering them instead of like at the gas station trying to DM some guy back, about some part.
Yep, especially in season like we are now. Like, it's crazy hectic, like with you editing, me building stuff, guiding, like so on and so forth. It's just insane right now. So this is a great way to get your actual question answered.
Yes. Okay.
Alrighty, let her eat.
First one. How to ride out with broke A-arms. Different scenarios on ways it can break. Okay, so let's answer if you snap an A-arm or bend an A-arm, how would you ride out?
So I bring a ton of things with me in my tunnel bag to like make.
Don't dive into that because that's one of the questions.
Yeah. I'm not going to dive into what I have in my tunnel bag, but like there are things that I have in my tunnel bag for this specific situation to help get out. So like, I have one of them, I don't even know what they're called, but it's like a bungee cord, but it's a strap and you can like hook it back to itself and it's like stretchy. That thing is incredible for attaching a log.
Is it like a buckle looking thing?
Yeah. It's like buckle. So it like is tight and it holds itself tight. So you can cut like a tree limb, like a good sized log and use that. Like if you break an A-arm, like if you're missing a whole piece, you can use that log as a support.
So you put it by the A-arm.
And then you
put the thing around it.
Yeah. I pack 2 of those to where you can, get it on there. I also pack some mechanic wire to wrap it around if need be. But generally getting a log of some sort in there to be the support is going to be your help. I've also rode sleds out on one side, riding
bad idea
that way for many, many miles.
Bad idea. I can tell you that. I've seen that go south.
It can end really badly.
Your skis really messed up.
Yeah. And you can wreck, like you'll hurt yourself. You can hurt the sled more, so on and so forth. Like it's most ideal to get it to where you can ride it out. And that's why like I like to build something with logs of some sort to make it solid, keep the shock from flexing if your shock's not already messed up. And if your shock's already messed up, then get it to where you can limp it out, whatever. But I try to minimize the damage by using wood and then securing it in there to make it quit from moving. Bend a lower A-arm on a Polaris, it's common. Yeah, you can just ride that sucker out of there. Like you're going to be fine.
Slow down.
Go slow. Take it easy. It's going to handle like dog.
Yeah.
But
beep.
Yeah. You can do it. It's fine. You're not going to hurt anything more. It's all good. But mainly it's when you break an A-arm and it's loose, that's when things really get, haywire. So you want to make sure to get it tied up as tight as possible, keep things snug. I think that's probably my best advice for that. But
again, log, brace it around where it's broken. Try to get the ski straight and ride it out.
Yeah. And that's pack this stuff with you, like zip ties, mechanic wire. I just have, 10 foot of mechanic wire cut off and then wound up in my tunnel bag where I can use it. Duct tape. I might have Gorilla tape. That stuff's incredible. That you can really make some things work with that. It sticks to itself when it's, wet even. So the Gorilla tape, those fastener things and mechanic wire, and you'll be in pretty good shape.
Paracord is another one.
Paracord's great. Yeah.
Tie a knot at the top.
Yep.
And then pull and then tie it. Yeah.
Yep. Well, and sometimes like if you blow a ski rubber, you can tie your ski loop back to your A-arm with like paracord so it can't dive down if that's kind of something a little off topic of A-arms, but it can definitely help you get out if you don't want to be doing the nosedive flip over.
I kind of enjoy it.
That's a good time.
Okay. What track and lugs would you recommend for tight technical riding?
What brand? That's
in general. in general, I would say the longer the track you have and the bigger lug you have, the better it's going to be in steep technical terrain.
Depends how tight your trees are. If they're extremely tight, it's hard to get a 165 through really tight trees because they just don't bob and weave good. So you're probably looking for like a 154, 155. I can tell you, it's not a 146 turbo though.
Yeah, I can promise you that.
Yeah, and it's probably not a 146 NA either, unless you have like in the right snow conditions where you can really hold your speed and bob and weave. A 146 NA is a riot in tight trees when you have traction and can go. But if you're riding good deep powder, I mean, 165, 155 for sure. As far as lug height, that 325, 155 is a badass sled that Polaris has right now. Like that is freaking awesome.
For me, for steep and technical, I would still go 65.
Yep.
And I think you can go slower.
Yeah.
And not get stuck.
Yep.
You know, and
you can hesitate for sure.
I mean, I'm guessing he's asking like, what is the most functional, easy to ride in technical terrain? That's what I would say. Like longer the better, within reason. I mean, a 200 track is going to be
exactly. I think 165 is your cap of that, just because you get in too tight of trees, you're going to be wedging yourself and not being able to maneuver as quickly. I think 165 is your cap.
But then you got guys that are really good, like Carl Kuster. He's on a 174.
Yeah.
I mean, it's preference at the end of the day, but I think a general rule of thumb is longer, towards the longer side, and a deeper lug.
Yep.
That's what I'd say.
Definitely. The 325, 165, as you know, has been awesome for that scenario. On the Ski-Doo side, the 165 3-inch, it works really good as well. I'm a 155 guy though, like 154, 155. And the bigger the lug on 155, I'm happy with, because it's nimble. I can still whip it around through the tight trees and stuff like that, but I don't hesitate as much, you know, in the trees as like maybe Brent would. So that's where the 165, not to dog on Brent here, he hesitates more in the trees.
I'm used to it.
And he's heavier. So therefore the 165 just fits you that much better. Now, I'm not that much better in the trees. Like I
think a lot of it is I'm a lot heavier than you. And so I can throw around a 65 very easily.
And that's where I struggle, guys. Like being honest, like that's why the 165 and me don't get along, is like I just don't feel like I control it. Like it feels like it controls me more. It's just too heavy. What I know it's only this much, but it's like the snow that's added in that area, like the whole weight, the whole atmosphere of a 165, I struggle with. Can I ride it? Yes. Do I enjoy it? Not as much as a 155.
Yeah. I mean, I enjoy riding the 65 if it's super technical, I guess. Like it wouldn't be if you're like an all day ride on the mountain, it wouldn't be my choice. I'd pick a 55 or a 46.
Yeah. Well, and it's not the ideal situation. Like it's a deep snow technical line sled.
Yeah.
It's not made it's not made to go rip down the trail fast. It's not made to ride marginal snow conditions. Like that is what it's designed and made for. So if that's what you're targeting, it's definitely the sled for that.
Yeah, and it depends on, it depends on your weight, your height. I mean, if you're 10 years old, a 65 is not a great idea in my opinion, but okay.
For instance, I'm 160, 165 pounds on a good day. Where wet. Wet. Like it's just rough for me.
Okay. Did you get a ticket for the sled on top of the car? Okay. So in the last YouTube video we posted, it wasn't a podcast. It was an actual video that we made. And I'm not going to give everything away. You should go watch it and go give it a like for us. But there was a sled on top of a car and I got pulled over by the cops. And to answer the question, no, I didn't get a ticket, but I did have to take a picture with her, with the cop. She wanted a picture, so I'm like, yeah, sure, why not?
And she called in for reinforcement to come take another picture too.
We had multiple cops there, and they wanted pictures because it was pretty funny. So go watch that video.
Yep.
Let's do.
But they did ask you the serious questions. You were not off the hook just because it was funny either.
Well,
she wanted to know.
She wanted license and insurance, and then I told her I was in a Christmas parade, and she let me go, which was true.
It was not. It was all true.
We'll touch on how'd you get your start. Okay, so I'm guessing that you're asking like how we got our start in the snowmobile industry. That's what I'm assuming.
Could be. That's my guess as well.
Basically, to make a long story short, very passionate about the industry and wanted to show people what we do. And I did it, or I have done it long enough and worked at it enough to get somewhat of a following on Instagram.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say. Nothing incredibly special or technical, just a lot of time put into it and a lot of love for the sport, honestly.
Yeah. I got into it with my family being longtime snowmobilers. My dad, big snowmobiler. And then I had a cousin that was in snowcross that raced professionally. And we went to watch him race. And we took my 120 when I was 4 years old. And I ended up racing that night in the 120 class at the snowcross race in Steamboat Springs. And then that just kind of like, I just was in the snowmobile family world, and I've just always been in an industry. I've never known not being in an industry. I was 6 months old, or no, I would have been 30 days old, and I was on a front carrier with my mom on a snowmobile, riding up to somebody's cabin. So it's always been in my blood. Snowmobiling has just always been a part of the family sport.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you're wanting to have influence in the industry, I'm guessing that's what you're asking. Just keep at it, and if you love the sport enough, you'll have fun doing it, and eventually, if you work hard enough, things will start to happen. Not that I'm the biggest in the industry, but
the effort, you got to put the effort in for things to come to you. Yeah.
Okay, how much of a base do you prefer in Colorado to cover up the landmines? 50, 60, more? Question mark. Okay, this is what I'll say. I've had this conversation a lot with people because I've had a lot of people ask, you riding yet? How's the snow? All this stuff.
That was rough.
That was rough. I've had this question a lot. This is a personal preference and opinion. A lot of people, there's snow on the ground and most of the rocks are covered up, and they go ride and they go crazy and break stuff most of the time. I'm a little more conservative on that. I don't want to break sleds. I don't want to do
fun
that.
When you hit a rock and wad your handlebars into your gut.
Yeah.
It hurts. It's not fun.
Yeah.
Not even the breaking the sled part, but your own body. And then you're timid for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
You
and
cringe.
it's just so expensive.
Yeah.
To go out there and do a ton of damage. And I used to do it every year. Every year we'd get a skiff of snow. I'd go up there. As soon as the sled would stay cool enough, I'd get off the trail and boondoog out through the trees. And it was just over and over again wrecking stuff early season. So now I'm kind of more conservative and kind of wait for the snow. I don't know a number to put on it. It's kind of a feel thing for me. And it depends on where you're riding, because I know there's a lot of zones around here you can ride with less snow and be safer. There's a lot of zones around here where you need, dude, I don't even know what you'd say, 100 and something inches.
I couldn't even tell you in inches, but last winter, in the prime of winter, remember we were in that zone with Marcus and he wanted to hit that rock up on the hill, and it was we were on the backside.
Oh, yeah.
And it was we have 10 foot of snow back there, maybe, if not more.
Oh, dude, I'm sure there's more by then.
It was a ton of snow, and it was still sketchy. We were still going through rock fields going
yeah, because they're wind blown.
Yeah, it was just sketchy. So you never really know. I would say 3 feet of snow. This is just my personal thing for around where we ride. 3 feet of snow is sketchy. They're hidden, but you still feel them.
Yeah.
5 foot of snow, you're a little more in the clear. You're just catching stumps and the bigger rocks and things like that. You're still not in the clear, but you're still going to feel some stuff, but not I'll start letting her hang loose at about 5 foot, but there's a lot of 3 and 4 foot rocks in Colorado.
Yeah.
A lot of them.
Yeah. We're in the Rocky Mountains. They're pretty rocky.
Dude, I nailed one the other day in the trees. And mean, we're at that 3 foot stage roughly. Well, it's settled so much in the last couple of days because it's gotten
and
warm.
It's raining outside.
And it's raining currently. But it was at 2 foot before the rain. So it's sketchy right now.
Well, hopefully it was snow up high.
I hope.
Yeah. It's the Christmas Eve Eve, and it's raining in Colorado. Never seen that ever.
That's wild.
But whatever. How are conditions at rabbit ears right now? So rabbit ears, most people know about rabbit ears. It's like the number one tourist place for
It's huge.
Yeah, people come from all over to ride there. It's a madhouse in the winter, but it's very popular.
We rode it, a week ago?
We rode it a week ago. Okay, I'm going to say my number, and you say your number of how much snow you thought was up there off trail. I'm going to say 3, 2, 1, and then say it. Okay, ready?
Yep.
3, 2, 1,
3.5 feet.
Okay, you thought 3.5?
Yep.
Okay, I thought 2.5.
I feel like when we were over there struggling, getting sled running, it was like crotch deep on me.
Really?
I thought so.
Oh, I remember walking to Marcus' sled, and it was like knee deep.
Maybe you're right. Maybe it was closer to that 2.5, 3 foot. Because we also had like 4 inches of fresh snow too.
Yeah.
Like, so that was kind of like, the fresh snow always looks like more than what is really there.
Yeah. But I would say, okay, from 2.5 to 3.5 feet.
Somewhere in there.
Whatever it is, it's not enough to get off the trail, in my opinion. But
it's terrifying.
There's people that are doing it. So,
yeah.
And people that are breaking a lot of parts.
I did it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. 2 good questions. Do you need a heavy duty truck to haul with a sled deck? Okay. I'll say my piece.
Okay.
Technically, per the sled deck manufacturers, at least one that I've looked into, you should have a heavy duty.
Yeah.
Should, like numbers wise, you should. And the biggest reason why is it's not necessarily how much weight it's putting on the truck, it's where the weight is.
Yeah.
You're becoming really top heavy in a way. And people do it, yeah. I mean, I don't think it's a terrible thing. I'm not saying you should, but I would definitely, me personally, I wouldn't put 2 sleds in a sled deck in a half ton.
Yeah.
But you could.
Kind of my personal thing. Can you do it? Yes. Will you most likely be fine? Yes. It's those certain situations where it's not. I don't think I would risk it. I would be 3/4 ton or 1 ton for sure.
And my thing is not necessarily because it can't handle the weight. It's because the suspension is softer, and I feel like you would get that bob.
You get the sway,
back
you get
and
the
forth
wind.
more. Yeah.
You get there's so many outside factors of it that, I just wouldn't love.
Yeah, but you can do it. If you have, I know there's gonna be people, I have a half ton with the sled deck. I get it. You can do it. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with it, but I would personally rather put it in a heavy duty.
Yeah. And I personally just don't even like a sled deck in heavy duty. I do a flatbed that's big enough that can hold 2 sleds.
Yeah.
Because I don't like going up that steep sucker. But no, to answer the question for sure, is it doable? Yes. Would we do it? I don't think so. Like we just
I guess if I had a half ton and that's all I had and I needed to haul 2 sleds and couldn't have a trailer. Yeah.
You
do what you gotta do.
It works.
Okay, last question. Top 3 items in your tunnel bag. What would you say?
Okay. I have to have a toolkit. Like my toolkit is my lifeline. I'd never, ever, ever go without that.
And you use the Mountain Lab
I use the Mountain Lab toolkit, and then I add to that toolkit with some other things. Another thing, first aid kit. And in that first aid, like I could break down the first aid kit. We should probably do a video of our tunnel bags. But like in the first aid kit, I have like a tourniquet, bandages, like medicine, all sorts of different things. Like it's a big, first aid kit. So
your bag is huge.
Oh, my bag is a monster.
Yeah.
I tried doing a hop over the other day and I tripped myself. And then Marcus hopped on it and he was like, that thing's up there. Like he kept kicking it.
Yeah.
We'll have to talk about that when he's out here. But it was kind of funny. He rode my sled the other day. But anyway, the toolkit, the first aid kit, and then the third thing would be saw. Like,
saw. For sure.
So that's, and I mean, gosh, it's hard because like I have like a lighter and stuff in my first aid kit and fire starter in there as well. Like it's kind of like a survival first aid kit, like, so like that, the tools, and then the saw for cutting down wood to make a fire or cutting down a tree because you ran into it because you didn't see it, or
Yeah.
you did see it and you still hit it because you were staring at it and you shouldn't have, whatever the reason is. But a saw is my third thing. How about you?
Yeah. I don't run a tunnel bag because it's all camera stuff.
Yeah. So you're like SD cards.
Yeah. Microphones and extra batteries. No, I'm kidding. So what I keep in my backpack, because that's the only spot that I keep actual snowmobiling stuff. First aid kit goes in there.
Yep.
A saw. I mean, dude, it's got a saw you have to have. I mean, it's like I use a saw all the time. And then I'd say probably fire starter.
Yeah. Some sort of
Or you could
fire
say
starter or
Zins, Fireball, and maybe an extra Coors Light.
Never know.
Yeah, you just never know what you're going to run into up there.
When you see BC on the mountain,
Yeah.
it's a different story every day.
Yeah, it's just different. So that's what I'd say. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff you need, but top three, if I could only bring three things on a ride, I hate to say it, first aid kit wouldn't be one of them.
Really?
And I know it's super important. It is top three important, but it's like I would rather have fire starter than a first aid kit.
Yeah, no, for sure.
If it really hit the fan, you had to stay the night out there and you have nothing to start a fire.
That would suck.
That would really suck.
Yeah,
I mean, you'd be dead.
Yeah, for sure. And that's where I guess I just didn't even think of that because it's in my first aid kit. But
Yeah.
that would be a huge thing.
Yeah.
Huge thing.
Like toe strap, that comes in really clutch.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a bunch of things. We'll have to dive into that. But
when I show you my tunnel bag, you will probably shit because there's a lot of things in there. There's a laundry basket.
Yeah.
But
I mean, siphon's a big one.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. No, that's a good one to have.
None of these things I'm thinking about, none of them are in my backpack. This is what I would tell you. This would be my top three, I think.
Okay.
Fire starter, GPS in reach.
That's a good one.
Okay, so if you had to call for help.
Yeah.
Third one, if you weren't wearing a good mid layer, it'd be mid layer.
Gotcha. Yep.
Like if you're a guy that takes it off or doesn't wear it unless you really need it, mid layer, or I'd say maybe a first aid kit.
Yeah.
Shovel too, dude. I mean, I'm going on and on, but like those, they're all so important.
Yeah. Three's hard to nail on too.
Because it depends on what situation you're in.
You never know.
If you have broke down sleds and you have to stay the night, like Garmin and fire starters, you're most important. If you, God forbid, knock on wood, this doesn't happen to anyone this year. If you're caught in an avalanche, it's different. Yep. If you hit a jump and you hurt yourself, that's different. Like everything's different. And so the point, in my opinion, what you should take away from this is every situation yields something different that you will need.
Yep.
So you should be prepared for all of those things. Yep. Or in my case, make sure that you're riding with somebody that has all that stuff.
Yep. And that's my thing, is like maximizing what you bring on the mountain with you to handle so many different situations. Like, like I pack a torch as my like lighter instead of a lighter because I can use the torch mechanically and to light,
and it's way
fire.
better if there's wind and
like it's just like, but it's got multi-purpose. There's just so many multi-purpose things you can pack with you up there, just being smart about things.
But to me, on my body, it doesn't matter. It's fire starter, Garmin inReach, like those things. It's not. I'm relying on you to have those. I have to have
because you might get separated too. Right. You don't know. Yeah.
But it's like if I got hurt, a radio is another.
I mean,
we go on and on, but all these things, like the reason why I don't pack all these things is because chances are, and there's a huge chance that like if you're there or if Brad's there, Thomas is there, Mark's is there, and one of you guys have those things, you're going to be able to get to me.
We'll help you. Yeah.
It's the same thing with like a beacon and an Avi bag. You need your own.
Yep.
Versus like a toolkit.
Yeah.
Like a toolkit, I can radio you and be like, dude, I need you to bring me a 10
I need a toolkit.
Yeah, or something like
for
that.
Sure.
So
no, that's a good point on that one.
Yeah.
And a key on your inReach. Now, if you have an iPhone 14 or newer, you can send satellite messages directly off your phone as long as your phone is charged.
Can you send them to like
anybody?
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like
I thought it was just SOS.
No, you can. I can just send you a text. Hey, what's up, dude? Whenever I want from satellite now.
Really?
So that's really cool. Huge benefit. I don't have to pack a satellite device anymore.
So I can't make the excuse, sorry, I didn't have service?
Correct.
Dang.
Yeah, that is no longer a
I've
thing.
never gotten a text from somebody that...
I don't know if it tells you if it came
Oh,
satellite.
really?
Yeah, but then you do receive them. You can receive text back then via satellite too. It only transmits every few minutes, but
see, to me, and it's like we've talked about, all the guys use that tiny inReach that you run off your phone.
yep.
They're great.
Till your
I
phone's
prefer
dead.
the one. Yeah, I prefer the one with the screen. So it's
And the
got
buttons.
maps in there. Yeah, and dude, that battery will last so long, like ridiculously long,
Yep.
way longer than a phone.
I
In
think
the
if you can
cold.
afford it, I think it's definitely one of those things that you should definitely still have.
Yeah, and
right?
it has maps in it. Say your 7S quits working. I've had my 7S quit working.
Oh yeah.
Or it tells me,
It's always when I need it that it
yeah,
quits.
it's like me and Brad are sitting right next to each other and it says Brad's way over there.
Yep.
You know, so if I had a Garmin inReach, it has a screen. I can message people from it. I can call SOS. I can do all that stuff. So that's kind of got into depth on that one.
I
But
did. I've got a question for you.
okay.
If somebody was, and a question for everybody actually, I put this in the comments. I want to know if someone were to buy Artie Cat, if Artie Cat was for sale, who would buy Artie Cat? What company would be interested in Artie Cat? And we can talk about a couple. I mean, this podcast is plenty long enough, and if you're still listening now, you're probably a diehard, but this might be a fun little clippy conversation.
Who do I think will buy Articat? I mean, John Deere's been rumored.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe they're waiting for their stock price to fall so far that they could.
I think that would be a great option.
Yeah.
But do you think?
I just feel like, and I'm not an old timer, so like to me, it's not like John Deere's a snowmobile brand. It just seems so off brand for them to buy something like that.
Yeah, I guess where I think of it is like they have so much.
But they might have other companies I don't know about.
They have so much infrastructure. That's
Yeah.
where I think they'd be an awesome. Like they could put snowmobiles in their dealerships alongside their tractors and side by sides and all their other stuff, construction equipment, everything else, and have the parts department, the salesmen.
Yeah.
Everything's already there. Now we just sell snowmobiles. They just got to educate their staff on what they're moving.
Yeah. I don't think that, I mean, I wonder what those executives think.
Yeah, I wonder too.
Another company that could buy them.
Maybe even just a fun one.
Wrong answers only.
Wrong answer only.
Leave in comments what wrong answer only. Harbor Freight.
Oh, dude, that'd be a good sled. It might be a one-time user, but it'd be a good sled.
Yeah. Oh, it'd
For
be so affordable.
$2.49, you too can ride a snowmobile.
Yeah. Looks the exact same. It's just made out of like recycled pop cans.
No joke. That's not what they're made of
and
now.
it just looks like pop cans because they just took a bunch and like glued
just
them
the
together.
colors. Yeah. Ugh.
Pepsi edition, Coke edition. You
Call
got
it
all of
U.S. General.
Yeah.
We're good to go.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. That's a good one. I like that. I really like that.
Dude, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what happens.
This is going to be a wild
It's
ride.
very unfortunate what's going on,
Oh.
but it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, it is going to be interesting, but it is unfortunate.
Yeah.
So
Well,
cool. That was fun.
yeah. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for the continued support. We really appreciate it.
Yep.
Again, follow us on Cook Bros and Powderbound Adventures on Instagram. So then when I put these questions out, you guys can kind of, have an influence on the podcast of what we talk about and just get some questions answered. There's a lot to know in the snowmobile industry. We don't know it all, but we've been around for a while, so we know some.
It's
So-
been great talking with a lot of you guys too. Like I've gotten a lot of phone calls and stuff with Powderbound and so many of you listeners. So appreciate every single one of you guys. Thank you, and look forward to riding to the ones that have booked with us.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been super cool interacting with you guys here this fall. I can't thank you all enough. It's awesome.
Yeah. So till next time, let her eat.
See ya.